Yeah, uh, welcome to this webinar on healing architecture, innovative methods to create sustainable spaces. A very interesting topics. The webinar is being hosted by the renowned Gerber Architekten. Some of you we have already met, so many of you are aware that Gerber is the 58 years of expertise in the global leaders in the sustainable and inspiring designs across healthcare, commercial, cultural, educational, and residential sectors. Gerber is headquartered in Germany, and the firm offers a wide range of services, including architecture, landscape designs, interior design, urban and urban planning. Today, the theme of this webinar is the uh, healing architecture, and we have amongst us we have Mr. Marius Raiko. Many of you in the past have already met Marius. Marius is the managing director of Gerber Architekten International. He joined Gerber in 2011, and he has a wide range of experience in the architecture of the various, types of buildings, and especially into the healthcare architecture. Amongst us, we also have Ms. Linda Farman. Linda is a part of the Gerber since 2013, and she has gained experience in the managing large-scale projects across all stages of development. And since 2022, she leads the office in Münster, focusing on the buildings in the healthcare space. And with the, this kind of experience today, we are going to have a very exciting session about the healing architecture. The format of this program is first, Mr. Marius will make the presentation, and then Linda will continue that presentation. And in the end, we will open up the session for the question answers so that we can exchange our ideas, exchange the thoughts. So over to you, Marius, for your presentation.
Wonderful. Kamal, thank you very much for this kind and concise introduction. Good day, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. We are all very happy and delighted that you come to listen to us and to what we say and what we have to say, how we do our work and what we do. I will start with sharing my screen to show the presentation, and you please give me a signal when you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Wonderful, thank you. So the way we thought we'll run this, I would like to maybe introduce ourselves first, so you understand the context of our work in the healthcare space, and then I will show you one or two large-scale projects that we are currently doing, and then I will hand over to Linda, who has much more to say on the topic. So Gerber Architekten starts with Professor Eckhard Gerber. This is the man. Eckhard Gerber is the founder of our practice. He started in 1966, which is almost 60 years ago in 2 years. Professor Gerber started with only a handful of people in a post-war German environment with a lot of rebuilding and fast-track building environment necessities, and built up the company to an internationally leading firm today, where we are competing with the best of the best in different regions of the world. Just a few numbers of who we are. We are today about 350 people from various nationalities. We've got, I think, about 35. So we speak most of the languages that we have in the architectural relevant world. We have a few thousand designs that we've produced over the years, with about 2,000 commissions, and most of our work would be fairly large-scale projects. We've built quite a lot of them, and we're also proud to say that we are an award-winning practice. Our office locations, it's about this triangle where we currently are now. As you can see, the base is in Germany, very strong. I'm based at the headquarters in Dortmund. Linda is in the Münster office, which is sort of the healthcare specialist office. Then we have other office locations. We've been in Saudi Arabia for around 20 years. We've got an office in Riyadh and an established entity now. And we've been in China for about 9 years, and we run an office in Shanghai. And what that triangle of international activity means is that we benefit, and that makes us, I believe, unique. We benefit from the German engineering approach to how we design buildings, how we see construction. We have done mega projects in the Middle East space, very large scale, very high profile projects. And we've also built about almost 1 million square meter in China with high rises, very dynamic environment, and highly competitive environment as well. We do hope that next time we sit together, we can say we've also got an office location in India, and let's see where that journey takes us. Our activities currently stretch from China, Vietnam, also India, Central Asia. We have activities in Central Asia and the South Caucasus. We're also in the wider Middle East and in Europe. This is the board of directors, together with Professor Gerber, Thomas, and myself. We run the international company. These two gentlemen run the German entity. Linda, today here with me, is director at the Münster office, as Kamal already introduced. We've got about 12, 13 directors running responsibly either office locations or certain sectors. And then we've got projects, and projects normally have project leaders, and that's how we're structured. It's fairly straightforward. So what do? We are architects first and foremost, so we are interested in buildings, but to get there, we often have to be involved or lead certain topics on wider urban scale. So that is urban design. We've done design guidelines for various cities. We've designed also cities or city quarters for that matter. Landscape is very strong. We're currently working on the King Salman Park in Riyadh, which is a mega urban regeneration project, 4 times the size of New York Central Park. Sustainability is an inherent topic in our world, and I will come to that later. We've made this one of the focal points of our presentation today. And whilst today is about healthcare, it's one of our leading sectors, also one of our growing sectors, particularly in the post-pandemic times. Nevertheless, what makes us unique and special is that we are active, and we have built in almost every sector, ranging from research institutions, a lot of public sector buildings, but also offices, headquarters for private clients, hospitality, and also ranging into transit-oriented developments. And the way we work, when you look at the right side here, our scope ranges from A to Z. We are quite adamant about that as well. There is unfortunately a decreasing number of architects where they are involved from conceptual idea and initiation of the project up until construction. We try to be one of these architects. We see ourselves as what we call building masters, with all the knowledge equipped to actually run and complete a building. And that means in Germany that we also employ our own quantity surveyors, our own specification writers, and our own construction management team. So most of the projects at home in Germany, we would see them from beginning until end. And at international level, that means we tend to come in for a site supervision role at periodic intervals. But when we come, we tend to be able to bring the whole wealth of our knowledge. I mentioned the awards. I think today is not the day to go into the detail of them, but we are very proud that we regularly win our awards. Now, coming to today's topic, healing architecture, what we want to do is to show you on certain projects that we're doing how we approach our design, how our design thinking materializes in the projects, how we see it through, and what we're trying to achieve. And we'll do this with a focus on sustainability. At this point, I would like to quote Professor Gerber: "Sustainable thinking and sustainable action is necessary in all areas of our lives, and of course, particularly in our work. Sustainability is crucial for our cities and, more importantly, for the people." And, you know, I've been doing this also for nearing 25 years now. Sustainability has been a topic since I was at university. It's been ever more important in most of the countries that we're in. It's becoming a critical topic to design and build our buildings in a way where we watch out for the resources that we use, for the energy and the water that we use, and how we use them and how we reuse things. So it's become an ongoing topic. Gerber Architekten are also a founding member of the German Sustainability Design Council. I think that's probably about 15 years ago, but we sit on many other panels and organizations, the European Association for Sustainable Laboratories. We run highly sophisticated quality management systems, and we also certify. So we see ourselves generally as a general design lead, and we coordinate, and we like to coordinate other participants on the design. Let's talk about projects now. I will take the liberty and start with a project because that's also been part of my time in the last 3 years. This is the SUSTEC, the Southern University Technology School of Medicine and Affiliated Hospital in Shenzhen. They've got quite a long name, and the name stems from the fact that they are a clinic, a university clinic, and they also teach. And that's been a really interesting and also very challenging design exercise. So the project location is in the city of Shenzhen. Shenzhen, as you may know, opposite Hong Kong on mainland China, the role model city in China. It's the city that has evolved from a fisherman's place 30 years ago to a 30 million city. Shenzhen is also working and functioning very well in terms of all mobility systems, urban connectivity systems, quarters, quality of life. They've done many, many things quite right. It's also the place where the competition for architecture and the international participation in China has been almost higher. So it's the most competitive ground for companies like ours to compete in China. And we were very proud to win this hospital. The way you can imagine this, what you see here is very green, and I just want you to know this is very special. In a high density city like Shenzhen, most of it is urban, urban, urban. And they have this campus, and to the left of the screen here, you see already some of the buildings. They get much more dense outside of what this image can show. And inside, they have this park with sports ground and other buildings. So when we were starting with this competition, it was not just a medical exercise, it was also an urban exercise to fill the gap on these two plots of lands. And so our idea was a little controversial. You would expect in a high density environment, and this is also the case in India mostly, a high-rise hospital. Most hospitals in China will be large buildings, at least, and similar to what you see behind Linda's screen. This is a university, but that could also be a similar typology. You sort of see that, and we didn't do that because we felt this project is particularly, it can benefit from the greenery that is immediate from the Dasha River and from the hills, and let's try to give the patients, or let the patients benefit from the views into the landscape. We are firm believers that nature and a natural environment is promoting well-being and rehabilitation. And I think this is a very natural thing to say. It's very hard to implement this in the urban environment. And so what we're doing is pushing the trend of regreening our cities and letting nature inside of our cities. And this project, basically, when you can see my mouse, focuses on that. So what we introduced as part of what we call the healing architecture is a healing garden here at the roof level, at the podium level. And the way I will just zoom in a little bit to make that more clear. On the lower levels are all the medical functions, everything, examination and treatment, surgery, emergency, outpatients, reception, inpatients, reception, everything that is logistically important for the building is happening on the lower 3 floors. And then on the upper floors, you have the wards or the nurseries for that matter. And the idea was to give the patient a more human scale view. We call this design approach the human-centered design approach, and I will just demonstrate that with from a patient view, what you see here. Yeah, when you look out of your window of a room into the building, you don't see the large building. You don't feel anonymous and just like a number of many. And this is at 800-bed hospital. You feel quite human and quite private, and that gives a sense of comfort. And with the connection to the natural environment and the green roofs, it is intended to promote well-being. And we designed this on most spaces in the building, so that goes through courtyard spaces on the roof and other spaces as well. So wherever you are, you benefit from that logic. And then let me just go back briefly to show you the urban context again. When you see the hospital here, this is the hospital body. And during the project, the client gave us an instruction to outsource the infectious diseases unit, which is that outbuilding here. This was right through the pandemic. We had designed this just after the pandemic. So most projects in China had a running change in their design to move away the infectious diseases units. Then there's a training center for nurses and doctors here. They still have some patients there. And then we can bridge over to the university part. This is the teaching part. It's all arranged around the courtyard. They've got an auditorium in the center. It's quite dense at the same time. It's a space that gives the students time to breathe, time to catch their breath, time to communicate. They have teaching spaces here, a library, canteen, and teaching laboratories. They also have animal holding, small animals, of course. And then at the back, what you see here is recreation and housing. So residential, this is where the students live, this is where the guests live. So everything becomes an organism rather than a building. This is a world. And what we're trying to achieve at Gerber Architekten, and you will see this in a lot of other work that we do, we're not just trying to fulfill the task and building a building and just a good building. We're trying to build worlds. And this is a healing world, and it's very complex from an urban to a technical scale. And we're trying to be the directors of the well-being of the people in these worlds. And there's a lot of detail to that, of course. I will dwell on the conceptual idea that we presented this building with, and this is how we also won the competition. Not everything that you put in a competition gets built through the end, so clients make decisions, particularly public sector clients like this. But this competition started with this system, and what we did is, because the site was hilly and they had the river, as you've seen. So we intended the plinth, the podium levels, all of the medical functions to be part of the urban environment, and we wanted to make that a green hill. with a green facade. And so all of the medical would become part of the urban landscape with the nurseries and the wards about that. And these systems, we have designed them. There's also examples from other colleagues across the world. This is one in Germany. Of course, this is quite a high maintenance idea. It's not a water or irrigation or technical issue in China and Shenzhen. Shenzhen is from a climate is very lush and pretty much everything grows. So in other climate zones, we have other discussions and also plant selection discussions. That won't be the case here, but as you know, people have to maintain them. So over the course of the project, this did not get built, but the facade was also discussed quite intensely. We designed the whole facade. If you look at the fingers of the building that I showed you earlier, they have different orientations, and so oh, I'm sorry. And so the facade was designed with the vertical screens to keep out the sun as much as possible, and the rotation of the screen was calculated by means of a sun study. So you always have the most ideal situation in your single individual patient room with a rotation of the louvers. Then another thing on sustainability in hospitals that is transferable here, it's a specifically Chinese governance item that is worthwhile mentioning also in this meeting. China has defined what they call the sponge city. And the sponge city is basically a water management government regulation to save water runoff and reuse water. And that's also happening in Europe, in Germany, and in other places. There's different names for it, but it's quite essential and is a political requirement for any public sector project that you do. And we typically have water management specialists involved in the project. We also had that here. And through a mixture of, the greening the building and having retention systems, detention systems for the water. Sometimes we also have to have water tanks and reuse of water. The total runoff is reduced significantly. Second example, I won't dwell on this in so much detail, is the Shenzhen People's Hospital in Bao'an, China. This was second prize competition that we won with a local partner. We always work with local partners and architects. This is also quite a large hospital. The way this works is, again, to the left here, you have the infectious diseases unit that's been its own entity. The hospital is basically this part, administration is here, and that's also hospital. So similar, the podium is quite large. The main entrance comes in here. We also did the landscape. Emergency unit is in the plinth here. And I think different than in other world regions, when you design in the Chinese environment, it's also about trying to reinvent at the formal level. Not everything then gets built like this. So the reason this looks like it does, we try to break down the scale of this quite massive and significant urban design into making the wards a little bit more soft. And that basically means you've got the vertical transportation always at the front, so that goes through. Examination rooms, doctors and nurses' wards are all here, and then beds sort of venture out to the rear with a second escape route at the back. But the main idea for this was, and this is a requirement in China post-pandemic, that in the pandemic scenario, how can you cordon off the medical staff and cordon off certain aspects of the building so that you quarantine and protect the people that provide the medical care. And that was one primary reason why the form came about. All of that is happening in this part. So it's a narrow space where you can then basically quarantine that off, let medical staff escape, and the patients would escape in a separate route. So it's one means of separating it. Is also a different reason why this building is sequenced. We had to demonstrate to the client was the public sector, that in another pandemic outbreak, the buildings can function separately and they are sufficiently apart from each other that they are actually able to function and be reused separately. That's why there is a space here and air there. That's why these two buildings are also in the same system, but they are zusammengefasst. They are bound together by the podium here, and then administration is different. That's easy to separate. This is what it looks like from close. It's quite a large hospital. I think this had 2,000 beds in it. So it becomes, at this scale, hospitals become an urban fabric exercise. And different governments will have different views on how they want to develop their urban environments. We are also part of various discussions at higher and mid-level to help, particularly emerging economies to do that. Sometimes these designs will be judged by a jury panel. We also have that in Germany very strong. Sometimes the public sector or the client will take the judgment, and typically decisions, particularly in China, tend to be either top-down and or consensus decisions. So at that point, I think it's a good moment to hand over to you, Linda. Linda has quite extensive knowledge about projects, and she's done many projects. She's a distinguished architect also with qualifications on lean management, and I'm sure you'll be very interested to hear what she has to say. I'm handing over to you, Linda.
Okay, thank you, Marius. I will go further on with two other interesting current projects. This is a clinic in Osnabrück. It's in the northwest of Germany. This project was won as a competition last year as a restructuring and renovation project. So the restructuring and renovation of the functional areas is an important component regarding to the master planning of the clinic to provide a sustainable development as a location for maximum care. You can see this here. It's a clinic with 220 beds and it's an extension project. Okay. And the clinic's ecological self-conception as a green hospital should also be reflected in the structural design. You can see this here in the pictures. The design concept is to create a digital, efficient, and people-centered clinic that forms the structural basis for intelligent, environmentally friendly, and gentle medicine. And the idea is to center the specialist departments to offer the highest possible medical quality standard for the patient. So to achieve this, all non-medical functions are first relocated from the main building to create space for the high-quality medical and technical centers. And the long and previously very narrow double main corridors will be combined and expanded to form an open, bright area with views into the green courtyard, as we saw it before in the other project, because this is a key pillar. So the new centers have their central ward hub attached to the open waiting areas. And now to the sustainable concept in this project. So we have here a green facade, and this green facade of the building, visible from afar, visually ties all functional areas together and forms the green connection to the landscape. So you can see the plan there. So the master plan, it's also located in a green space. And with its energy efficient post and beam construction made of timber, it represents an ideal solution from a sustainability perspective. So here, fast-growing plants, fast-growing plants climb on the wooden structure, providing effective sun protection and generate evaporative cooling. So Warm wooden building materials dominate the interior and also the exterior, and contrast with clear light wall cladding made of glass. And here you can see the facade and the plants on the facade. Yeah. So also the building materials that can be reused after demolition are used in this construction. This is where the cradle to cradle concept comes into play. So the requirement is the avoidance of questionable building materials and consistent product responsibility in this project. Okay.
Linda, because this is such a complex building in the existing context, can you maybe elaborate on existing and new for the audience? I think that would be quite interesting. It's very special what we've done.
So the part so this part is the new parts. This parts, which Marius shows, and is the master planning. At the end, this project is about 3 smaller projects. One is this functional area project. Then we have energy Energiezentrale.
Energy center.
Energy center, yeah. And we have also another project of care for Versorgungszentrum. Was heißt?
Technical center.
So at the end, because at the end, this clinic is a clinic of maximum care. So it is located in the northwest of Germany, and it is so they are responsible for a lot of smaller cities in the closer area. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just zoom out for you again.
Okay. So, and here on the right side, you can see all the colored areas. These are the new parts, which we are planned for the renovation and restructuring. And it's a very complex task to do this in a clinic. So it's not a new building project. Okay. Then we will go further. This is another project. It's the clinic in Austria. This is a competition project as a part of the modernization of Vienna's clinics. So it's located in Vienna. It's the capital of Austria, and this was an EU-wide open design competition for the overall development of this Hitzing clinic. And our design for the competition of last year is conceived as sustainably designed hospital landscape embedded in a historical building ensemble. Okay. So as you can see here, the 830 bed hospital concept is to create a digital, efficient, and people-centered clinic. And then there are 2 main objectives. So the main 2 objectives for this concept are to create a clinic with short distances, both construction and infrastructure-wise, and its integration into the large hospital park to serve the well-being of the patients. And this is what healing architecture means. And on the next, we can see also the master plan on the right side. And here you can see how the clinic is embedded in this historical park ensemble.
Can you talk us through a little bit through the project, Linda?
Yeah, when you go a bit out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because I'm more concentrate on the technical parts. Okay. So so we have 4 floors for examination and treatment, and this form a base on which 3- and 2-story building bands, as you can see here in the section. arranged in a loop. And this loops we saw before on the master plan. And the main corridor cascading according to the topography of the site with its rest and orientation zones forms. So it's called the vital heart of the new central building. So the transparent 4-story facade of the main corridor integrates both, so the park and the adjacent buildings of the historic site into the interior. And this is also combined with the sustainable concept. So the healing architecture as a key pillar of the conceptual quality of our new clinic building is so that this enhances the integration of the different natural spaces according to its topographical location, because the topography was here a big task. The facades take up the green diversity of the landscape and appear as a vertical dancing wooden panels, which provide shade for the interior and offer support for climbing plants in the spirit. Also here we have this aspect as the living wall. And the roof is designed as intensively greened retention roof and is equipped with photovoltaic systems. Then also the landscape architecture aims to the thing that instead of classic lawns, wildflower meadows provide an important food source for insects, and small water areas provide the necessary humidification and evaporation areas. And further on, what you can also see in the section is that mechanically opening window elements, which are recorded and controlled, can also be used to take advantage of night cooling effects. You can see this here where the yellow marks are. Yep. So the structural concept takes the idea of a sustainable building, also here by hybrid timber construction. Okay. Okay, for this project. Now we would like to introduce you a bit, so how we work, or to demonstrate sustainability in action. And our working methodology is so to ensure the quality management in all stages, as the development of the core of quality assurance in relation to the organization and the execution of the project. So we, as Gerber Architects, have a manual. So this is the methodology Planning the Planning, which provides optimal control and planning for the processes that occur in everyday planning. We develop variant concepts with cost analysis and in agreement between the client and the user in a close coordination. And in this coordination with the client, we also offers to carry out subsequent programming and user workshops to optimize previously defined spatial requirements if necessary. And what also is very important is the early involvement of the responsible authorities. That helps us to ensure that the planning security is achieved at a very, very early stage. And all this together, these are lean methods to go on a quick way to do and on a sustainable way to do projects. Okay. The next one is the examination of individual measures. So in a very early stage of planning, we suggest various ideas of sustainable concepts to find the perfect measures for your individual projects. So some of the most common measures we can see here, we show you now further. The first one is, you can go one further. Sorry. The transition to sustainable design practices. This, for example, at our clinics, we incorporate a range of various sustainable measures to enhance both environmental performance and the well-being of building occupants. So we have the green facade, the intensive green roofs, and not only provide natural insulation, but also improve biodiversity by supporting plant life and reducing urban heat island. And we have solar panels and photovoltaic systems combined with the use of geothermal energy, and this allow us to harness renewable resources, significantly lowering the building carbon footprint. So then we have also the integration of rainwater harvesting systems to reduce water consumption, while retention surfaces effectively managing rainfall runoff. And then we have the choice of a hybrid timber construction, and this ensures a low environmental impact, promoting sustainability through renewable resources. And then the native tree plantings and the sowing of bee-friendly meadows around the building help prevent excessive sealing of surfaces and fostering biodiversity. So then the next folder is up to the urban heat island mitigation, because due to human activities and other factors like dense construction, limited vegetation, and heat-absorbing surfaces, the temperature in urban microclimate rises and becomes much hotter than nearby rural areas. And therefore, public green areas are important. So both as ventilation corridors and to let heat sink with the urban grain. Further reduction can be accomplished by using green roofs and light-colored surfaces in urban areas, so all these aspects we saw before in the projects of us. And then we have the design methods to reduce the urban heat island effect. Urban heat island effect is so the effective facade systems, the using vegetation, and create cooling through ventilation and water. So these are the three important aspects. Then we come to the renewable energy efficiency. So the energy is derived from natural resources that are replenished naturally and are
Linda,
sustainable.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
just lost you. I thought it's an audio problem.
Oh, bitte?
We can hear you again.
Hallo, hallo?
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay. So we had also here the sponge city concept, which Marius told before. And then the next folder, we have the sustainable urban ecosystems. That's the next folder. Genau. That also this we had before, that our designs, so design and the landscapes is a very important thing, that they come together. For example, the selecting native biodiverse vegetation benefits from being adapted to local climate conditions. And then we come to the green building materials. The next one. Also here, the example of the timber construction as the renewable resource. And then on the next, we come to the modular and prefabricated construction. And here, for example, this is also a big chance for the clinic projects. The modular and prefabricated construction promotes sustainability by reducing waste, lowering energy consumption, and minimizing on-site environmental impact. And we have one project you can see here on the right side. It's the St. Barbara Hospital. And in this hospital, it's also located in Germany. We faced a significant challenge with limited space and insufficient hospital beds to accommodate the growing number of patients. So we suggested a concept of modular expansion and prefabricated construction. And so we have the advantage of complete prefabrication ensured that each building module met high quality standard, and this you can see also here came equipped with a pre-installed electrical equipment, including wet batteries. So in summary, a modular medical building saves resources, ensures hygienic standards, and offers quick construction. And this is also a good thing sometimes when there is not so that much space. Yeah. So, and then we come to Inspire Visionary project. So what our goal is to have the vision of healing architecture. We have the sustainable healthcare. So the sustainable healthcare provides high quality, affordable care by balancing the 3 points. So the environmental, the social, and the economic point. And then on the other side is that also the smart health refers to the integration of advanced digital technologies like telemedicine or new advices, and also the AI diagnostics to provide monitoring. So also this can be integrated in the project. And then altogether, the humanity design, it is the big point in our project, as we told you before, for the healing architecture. So looking at the interior of our clinics, so the inside and the outside, they are playing together. And also we have other several aspects which are playing a role too. So wheelchair accessibility, hygienic concepts, color concepts for orientation. And these are also some examples of our projects. So facilitate knowledge exchange and inspire collaborative opportunities. That means that we encourage partnerships and teamwork to share our ideas and expertise, so that we can lead together to innovative solutions and shared goals. And yeah, that's
Wonderful. Thanks, Linda. What I'm hoping to demonstrate to the audience is the complexity of our approaches and the adaptability to each context. So you've heard some of the specifics that we adapted those philosophies into the Chinese context. You've seen how we do things in Germany. And there's always quite difficile and sophisticated discussions of what exactly applies. So the main message here really is that we've got a breadth and a wealth of knowledge, and we're very happy to liaise. Kamal, I will hand the word back to you.
Thank you, Marius. Thank you, Linda, for fantastic presentations. I think a lot of new ideas, a lot of information sharing. I would like to now request Dr. Vivek Desai to say a few words before we go into the question answer session. I request Dr. Vivek Desai to unmute and can switch on video also and say a few words on this topic. Dr. Desai.
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Sani, and very good afternoon to Marius and Linda. I think excellent presentation. We learned a fair amount of how you create microclimates, in hospital buildings to bring down the temperature overall. That was something that we usually don't practice in India. I don't know the reason per se. Probably one of the audiences can, talk about that. I was in Singapore last week, and most hospital buildings in Singapore as well have this microclimate creation within the hospital, and many of their hospitals actually were not centrally air conditioned, because they had a system of beds which are subsidized. So almost about 70% or 80% of their beds were in these kinds of hospitals without central air conditioning, which is something which was surprising for me, because most hospitals wherever you go depend on central air conditioning, for all India Institute of Medical Sciences that we are now creating in India has that kind of a centrally air conditioned system. So if you could learn something around those, that how can you do that in a temperature climate and climatic conditions that India has, if that could be something which would become probably a unique selling proposition for Gerber. Happy to join hands with them for any projects. I quite like the first one which Marius demonstrated, in terms of that medical university school, which was quite unique. there was fair amount of microclimate creation there as well. Prefabrication is something that India is yet to embrace in healthcare buildings. At least there are some hospitals. I can point out Max Hospital coming up in Mumbai, fairly large, 600,000 square feet, so about 60,000 square meters, completely done in prefabricated steel structure. So those are something which would probably also learn from Gerber. Yeah, but overall, a very good presentation, Marius, as always.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Desai. Thank you so much. Vinayak, you can now unmute all, and we would, we'd be happy to take questions from all the participants. So please, you can raise hands or unmute yourself and ask question one by one. We'll be very happy to answer whatever the questions are, and we are happy for the collaborations. We are looking for the collaborations, and this is a great platform to interact with each other. So with this, I would like to request the participants to ask any questions, or you have any ideas you want to share on this platform. We'll be happy to do it.
Hi.
Hi, Sandeep.
Hi, my name is Rahul Kerur. I'm here from Malik Architecture. It's a 50-year-old design firm based in Ballard Estate in Mumbai. Good afternoon, and thank you for the presentation. It was really, really insightful. So I had a question regarding the overlap of the hospitality and healthcare sectors, because what would we as a firm, we are both currently our strong suits are hospitality and healthcare, but the overlap of how to make inviting spaces where everybody feels welcome in those spaces. Is there any
Hi, my name is Nandini. I just wanted to know in courtyards, which we saw.
Hi, sorry. Yeah, hi, sir. Continue to speak. You can raise hand. I'll ask everyone one by one to. I'll take questions. Sir, continue, sir.
Yeah, my question was.
Yeah, I understood the question. Maybe I'll try to structure the response. The connection and the overlap between hospitality and healthcare. Can I be heard, Kamal?
Yes, Marius, I can.
Okay. So let me just expand to that. I do think that is a very interesting, highly promising, and future area of our work. We've already had the first clients. One was also a Hong Kong-based client who commissioned us with a medical spa. I mean, the term that I use is a medical spa. That's the most common form that I know out of our work, whereby medical treatment, examination, particularly prevention, is combined usually in sites and projects that have really distinguished natural environments. So you're basically talking about a retreat with medical functions, and the medical functions can range from preventive medicine to also treatments and invasive medicine. That depends on the client. So typically they are private healthcare providers. We see that as an emerging market. Initial work has been done, and the question on how you overlap that from the design point of view, everything depends on the topography, on the site, on the climate. So typically, I think with these projects, it's creating a welcoming entree, the gesture, how you come into the compound, and then taking the right choices in making the separation between what can be medically, visually sensitive, and what is then a private area for recreation, and what is a medical area. And that can be done with, clever and smart designing and master planning. And this is really where we shine.
Thank you, Marius. Thank you. Akam and Akam.
Hi, sorry, I'm using my wife's Zoom account. But My name is Rahul. Thank you very much for answering that.
Yeah. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you. Bazaar's iPhone, I don't know the name there, not mentioned. So please speak.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Nandini. I'm from HouseMac.
Hi.
Hi. In the second presentation, we saw courtyards where, the floor plates were continuing with lots of courtyards. But the question here I have is, are these courtyards enclosed? Is it not considered to be a fire hazard, a courtyard in a hospital building, and the walking distances around the courtyards, which we have to encounter from one building to the other? If somebody could explain how these are handled, that would be nice. Thanks.
Linda, would you like to respond to that since it's your project?
Yeah. So in our project, we have a specialist planner for the for the fire protection. Though it's very important that also when we have so closed courtyards, that we have so the Rettungswege.
Yeah, the fire escape route.
Yeah, the fire escape route, that we have to guarantee that the fire escape route is there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, you basically make sure that you can escape on two distances at all times. And sometimes there's a passive fire protection means, so we've got to make sure that this fire spread around the corner fire doesn't jump. So there's specific regulations in Germany. We have in Germany quite a sophisticated, quite stringent fire protection set of regulations. In other countries, it varies. I generally tend to recommend to our clients that we work with fire engineers because typically in combination, we are then very good at providing something that is livable and has quality with meeting all the regulations. In some regions, that doesn't make sense because regulations are very strict and you can't engineer. So the term engineering for me is really trying to maximize the efficiencies of everything. And you can only do that where regulations allow. We have had in China, for example, the experience that some regulations were so strict and set in stone that you just had to meet a certain requirement. And that's it. And there's no way to further optimize that. And I think that's a detailed discussion with local architects, local partners, local clients to determine very early on how will that actually work. And that starts at concept design. So it's all about communication and being fast in the development thinking.
Thank you, Marius. Mihir,
Yes. Hi, I'm back. Hi. I really do appreciate your answer. There are two ways as JCI also looked at it. It is seen as a problem with patient safety, and second is smoke carrying. Now I understand there could be fire retardant glass put around the courtyard. However, yes, like you said during the concept discussion, we need to understand what the stakeholders and the local authorities would suggest or allow such creations. But thank you very much for your answer. Thanks.
Thank you. Mihir, you have a question?
Yeah, I had a small question to ask. It was a really nice presentation, Marius and Linda. Thank you for that. I wanted to ask a question about this particular competition project, the Heitzing Clinic in Vienna, because I was quite particularly intrigued by it because I've been around Heitzing and it's like a very nice neighborhood as well. I wanted to ask a question because it's a seminar on sustainability and green architecture. Like the podium and tower type, is there an alternative to this within the only tower type? So for instance, if we change the typology from having a long horizontal mat and rather build dense and go tall, which often happens in a lot of Southeast Asian contexts where cities are very dense agglomerates and land area is very difficult to attain. So Like, what are your thoughts on going taller and vertical and packing the building a bit dense? Like, how would you approach that through a sustainable perspective? I
Yeah,
have that question.
thank you, Mihir. I think it's a really relevant question.
Yeah.
Thank you. In the second project that I showed after the SUSTEC, we had a bit of more of a high-rise approach, and other projects, particularly in China, that we did are more high-rise. You can work with terraces and creating microclimate zones within the stack of the functions.
Yeah.
And typically, as a method, that's what we do. That does create or bring up questions for the client and the stakeholders of space usage, and if the more stringent cost discussions you have, and this is everywhere on the planet, everything is cost driven, and clients generally tell us, oh, look, it's too expensive because you're building air and, you've got to pay for all the space around it. That's true. And you can't argue around that. But if you want to build quality for the people, and that also signifies our, I think, civilizational efforts, you've got to be doing good things. And good things means a little bit of space to breathe around our buildings. If we go all efficient, there will be no natural daylight and nothing else, just technology. And that's a danger that we're currently in. We see this in many, many urban cities. The more financially or regulatively driven these are, the worse. And then what happens is you tend to have decision-making people that actually have seen good projects on the world, and they want that. And that's typically here where we come in. When we have all this quality work and people say, okay, this is really good, how do we do that? Then generally you get a version or an adapted, sometimes also compromised version of that. But typically in a stacking system, we've got to stack effectively and create vertical gardens. That's one way of doing it. Or utilizing the roof, or breaking the mass down to have gardens between, because you will always have some sort of podium level in any building, most of the time.
Right. Yeah. And also it works much better because even for engineering, once you have these kind of broad courtyards and podium terraces, it becomes more efficient for us as architects and engineers to compartmentalize different functions of the hospital and then engineer them as per the requirement, which is very difficult in tall buildings, for instance. But yeah, really, really nice answer. Thanks, Marius.
Yeah.
It can unmute and ask.
Anyone else? Any questions?
Mihir can.
Mihir.
Yeah,
Mihir has spoken.
I already asked you. I'll lower the hand.
Yeah. Okay.
I had a quick follow-up question.
Yes.
Sorry. So my question was, what kind of collaborative opportunities and how does Gerber Architecture see collaborative opportunities with design firms in India?
Yes, thank you. That's very straightforward. We typically like to be the design lead and the design originator on the conceptual architectural form, and in collaboration with, say, an executive design partner, that tends to be the standard model outside internationally for us, So typically the collaboration has to be really intense because we want the conceptual design to be informed sufficiently by the regulatory compliance. Yeah, so it's important that the local partner is involved early on, because every question that we had, if you design a courtyard, what happens with fire protection? It was a prime example. If you design vertical, how many stairways do you need? If we have a vertical garden, how does that actually work? All these conceptual ideas, they need to be tested, and then we'll have a conceptual design. Typically, we take our designs up until schematic design plus, sometimes detailed design, and we will normally have a role of site supervising. It all comes down to the available fee, of course. That tends to be the way things are. In the Middle East, they also employ us to be site supervising with expats. I don't expect that to happen in India. And I think China as a market in terms of conditions and competitiveness on fees is a good example of how to collaborate. And we've got 10 years of experience of various models within what I just said. There's various shades of gray in how we can manage that and still contribute and create value.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I would now like to invite Mr. Rajiv Kapila. He's from DS Group to say a few words on the program on this topic. Mr. Kapila, welcome. You can unmute and speak. Can you allow Mr. Kapila to unmute and speak?
Yes, you can unmute, and I've made him the co-host. He'll be able to unmute and switch on the video.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Kapila. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. A very interesting presentation. In DS, we majorly are into the hospitality division, and we have really not entered the medical sector here at the moment. And in the hospitality, the kind of scale that you're talking about, limited to the properties which vary from maybe 200 to 400 key properties. And we presently are working on a model where with spree, make them operational immediately, or we don't even mind acquiring the operating properties. So the greenfield projects as of now in DS is on a back seat. So, but all said and done, we have about 8 properties which are up and running, spread over all over India, and we are growing big by the day. In the coming times, maybe as of now, not as of now, but in the coming times, we'll definitely should look forward for an opportunity to collaborate somewhere, because your subject definitely is very, very interesting. But this presentation, I think, was limited to the hospitals and the medical side of it. We'll be more interested in the hospitality sector.
Yeah, wonderful. If you wish to elaborate further and connect, I would suggest, Kamal, you can maybe facilitate that, and we can forward our work on hospitality to create a discussion. I'd love that.
We'll do that.
Looking forward. Why not?
Thank you.
Surely.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kapila. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good day to all.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Anyone can unmute or write on the chat box.
So in the meantime, you can think about questions. And January, Marius is likely to be in India, and anyone will be reaching out to you for the one-to-one meetings, so that we can do the follow-up from here on. From today's event, we'll be happy to follow up. So my team or myself will be approaching you in the next few days to, once we have a clarity on the dates for the Marius, we'll get back to you and request for the meetings with Marius.
Wonderful.
Any other questions? If not, Marius, over to you for the final word, and then I'll say the few word of thanks.
Thank you, Kamal. First of all, thank you for your interest. I think what has become clear is that actually what we do seems to be interesting. I'm very delighted to see that and hear that. I would like to expand a little bit on our capacities and capabilities. You see, as architects and urbanists, we don't come with a project and where we say this is the way we do and we will export that, and we have a certain product niche where we place that product. That's not the case. We are now an internationally leading company. We have a lot of work. It's a knowledge-based and experience-based profession that we are promoting. And I can say with confidence to you that through all of the experiences that we have on the mega scale, but also there's very small scale projects in Germany, there's almost no design problem that we can encounter that we couldn't solve or help at. And that would be governmental level, healthcare, and other projects. We've got now a wide-ranging network of also internationally operating specialists. And in the case of King Salman Park, that's world-leading botanists and horticulturists world-leading scientists, in that matter on the landscape. And the same is true also for any other sector that we work in. So what we'd like to be is a competent partner in making the right contributions with a long-term view. And I'm adamant about advertising that. I think the healthcare aspect today was an example of our thinking, our processes to provide ideas that work, and then the journey from that to a completed building is actually a collaborative journey every time. And we are very experienced in doing that journey with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marius. Thanks a lot. So before I end, I would like to give some thanks. Thank you, Marius. Thank you, Linda, for taking out time on Saturday on your weekend to attend this. Thank you for all the participants actually who took out their precious time over the weekend and coming and attending this webinar and make it participative. And I think a lot of information, quality information was shared today. And we would like to follow this up during Maria's current visit in January to India. Thank you, Dr. Desai, for always being supportive and guiding us. I would also like to thank my colleagues at Clinaminds who helped organizing this event, Shraddha, Vinayak, who helped putting together this event. So thank you for this wonderful event. Thank you for all participation. Have a nice weekend. Thank you very much.
Wonderful.